So for the animation, what I always do first is get the character into position to get it then animated. Now I did use the one of the positions from the moving forwards animation. However, I did end up editing it for the Ollie animation, and I did also include on my website where I got the tutorial from on how to do an Ollie. And here you can see me lift the skateboard up to the character rather than character to the skateboard, and that was because I actually linked the skateboard to the pelvis, which means that if I want to move the skateboard to another area, it moves with the pelvis, which can cause a bit of an issue. So here I'm also still getting the character into a position, and I also realised that there was a single polygon that I didn't get rigged correctly, so I went back to the other animations and got that fixed so that doesn't happen anymore. You can also find out about how I rigged these models up on the website as well. I did go into detail about how I did that with all the paint weight stuff. So now here I've got the final model ready. This is what I'm going to use for the character. This is what I'm going to use for the animation, sorry. So I would also just like to say that I am recording this after I have also done the other animations as well, so I might also talk about things that I haven't done in this one but other animations. So here I'm just starting to get where he crouches down. I'm trying to get that all sorted, and I want to make sure the feet, they all stay in the same position so it doesn't look like the feet are moving around, which I do end up doing decently well. And after I've got that sorted, that's when I can move the skateboard back to the legs. And here you can see me keep testing it because it's something obviously you should do when you're animating, but just constantly going back and forth between the animations to check that nothing's wrong or nothing's been just to make sure everything looks right, really. So the way you're supposed to do an Ollie is basically you flick the board up with one of your feet and then you drag your other foot along the board so it flattens it out, and that's how you can get air. I'm not entirely sure how that works, it just does. Used to be able to do it anyway, but that is also something I did want to try and recreate here, as it's not getting the character to be able to actually perform an Ollie rather than you just sort of rising up with the board. Does add a lot more accuracy to it, and whilst realistically you are robot skating, it doesn't hurt to have accuracy. And I also did a similar thing with the other tricks that I did, so like the pop shove it and the method, where I had actually looked at real life people doing it, or in the case of the method I actually did load up one of the Tony Hawk's games and just looked at how they did it and tried to recreate it best I could. However, there is obviously some differences between how you do it in real life, such as the pop shove it, the way you do it, because you actually push it down, the board would just sort of go down more than it won't rise back up to your feet like it does in game or in the animation, which doesn't really matter all that much. So here you can just see me trying to make sure that the leg lifts up with the board correctly, make sure that there's no sort of issues with that, and then once I've got that sorted, I can then get to the other part of where the board's now flat but you're still rising up, and it's also, I wanted to get that done with the legs as well, making sure that it doesn't start to clip through the board, which you can see me trying to fix here. And quite a good way to do that actually is to get the sort of halfway through the animation, to say it's 20 frames. On the 10th frame, if it's clipping through, then you can position it so it doesn't clip through. And usually the way you do it, it means that it doesn't clip through, or if it does, it's very minimal. Now you did also see me playing with the graph editor there, which is a good way to do splines and different sort of animation curves, which can really help in certain areas, such as if you want to do a looping animation, having a linear spline on the both start and end of the animation can do really well in making it loop a lot better. Although you did also see me getting a bit distracted by just wobbling the keyframes around a bit, and it just completely distorting the model. And also here you can see me animating the arms, because a good way to do animation is to start with what could be called like the main points of the animation, like what's doing the main movement of it. So in this case, obviously it'd be the legs and the skateboard, and then moving on to doing the arms and then the body, because they are more the less important things that you don't really need to get across as you're doing the animation.